Regional services from the Northeast Connecticut Council of Governments, and we also manage the transit district. We've all been here before, unfortunately, so I just kind of want to give you a recap of what we're doing. In the 2016 proposal that we submitted to DOT, there have been some changes between that proposal and this proposal. The proposal in 2016 was for half-day service. All of the stops have remained consistent minus the addition of UCFS at the request of UCFS. And so we're working on right now just compiling data, having the public hearings as we're required to do by Connecticut DOT rules. So here we are to kind of get some weigh-in, seeing if you agree with the route and all of that sort of stuff. I encourage you to fill out the survey. If you're also interested, we're also encouraging people to write letters of support. The challenges for you or a family member in the fact that Plainfield doesn't have transportation. We will include those in our packets as we did last time. To talk about how Plainfield needs transit service. So I won't give you the overview how you haven't had it since 1998 and all of that other stuff. So the new service will be a 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. service with a connector to go north at the Warrigan Post Office. So that'll be our northernmost stop in Plainfield. And we are also in the process of revamping our northern route, so I just think that's for context. So right now we currently run a Thompson-Putnam loop and a Killingly-Brooklyn loop. So with this new loop, we're going to be able to service the south side of Killingly and also the south part of Brooklyn. So we'll be able to go past the Brooklyn Walmart down to the town hall, and that's where we'll connect with the Warrigan Post Office. And we'll do the same thing when we come south from Big Y and Danielson. So the connector for that, the plan when we get that all set, that'll roll out probably first, only because that's not going to be a monetary impact on the current funding that we have for those buses that we currently offer. We're going to, as soon as possible, probably within the next couple of weeks, submit the application to DOT for the Plainfield service, and that will also open up the connection to SEAT. We've had conversations with the director from SEAT, which is the Southeastern Area Transit District. I gotta get the acronyms because they're really testy sometimes. And we will be able to, the SEAT bus, the plan is for it to meet our bus at the Plainfield Big Y. So it'll open up the full 395 corridor for everyone. So that's just kind of for context. Again, we're just looking for input, so if anyone thinks of anything they want to talk about in terms of stops or additions, times that may be a preference, like how many times it comes to Warrigan and how many times it goes down to Plainfield. It took the Plainfield Big Y. I think the plan right now is every other hour to connect with both of the services, north and south. And that's just based on the number of buses that we currently have. We did just get approval to purchase the buses that we had ordered last year, so hopefully those unfortunately take 16 to 18 months to get in. So once we have more buses, we'll be able to kind of reassess the service, and we typically do that every couple of years. Last year we did a survey for our existing service area to do satisfaction, where are we going, where are we not going, which also led us into this re-support for the Plainfield service. People do want to get here, and people from Plainfield do want to go north. So if anyone has any input about the stops or the route or anything related to that, we'll totally take them.
There would be the opportunity for these buses to run later past 5 o'clock if the need is there?
It's really difficult because of the fact that we have part-time drivers, so they do typically like a 5 or 5.5 hour shift. We don't run any of our service past 5:30, so we need to be able to get the buses back to the center, to the building, to bring them. They do a pre and post check, and that's a 30 minutes, 15 on the front end of the morning to check the lift and check the tires and the pressure and the oil and all of those other things that you're supposed to do. And then at the back end, we do the exact same thing. So we can certainly talk about it in the future. I think the main goal right now is to be able to get the 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. service.
And Hoween, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Killingly try to do it till like 8 o'clock at night at one time?
We did. There were times that we started it earlier in the morning, and it worked for a few days. And we didn't get a lot of riders, and the same thing in the evening. A lot of the people who take the bus try to get those things done in the morning. Typically our people come in for medical appointments, social services appointments, to get to the grocery store and run errands, and the majority of our passengers like to do that in the morning. So we have more buses running in the morning than we currently have running in the afternoon on our current service.
I thought that.
Yeah, I know that there was a time we were running a specific, it was a jobs to work program that we had funding for running into the industrial park in Killingly. And we had riders for like the first week, and then the hours shifted, and the industrial park didn't notify us, so then we didn't have people taking the bus. So, and the other challenge is that, especially for the industrial park in Killingly, is that it's like 5 miles from downtown. So walking there was like, you know, very difficult, but also trying to deviate out there was also, we had separate funding for that bus specifically.
Is there a POC information we can get in case we get questions later?
Our contact information is on the back of the survey, so you're more than welcome to give us a call. Yep, it's on the bottom of this and on the back of the map.
Okay.
So if you have any questions, you can certainly give us a call, and you can email necctd@neccog.org with any questions, and we can definitely accommodate any questions that you may have in the future. If anything, you know, you didn't think of tonight comes up. Hi, sir, how are you? Do you want some of the information?
Sure. And Hoween, maybe you could just touch on the Warrington,
Yeah.
how the Warrington is done, you know, you can either get that and take it to Warrington.
Yes.
Or you can go to Brooklyn, Walmart, is that? and
Yeah,
then go next?
yeah, so, right now, we have a bunch of transfer points, so in the northern loop, what we're doing with this new loop is going through, there won't be any transfers. So the only transfer points will be the Brooklyn Walmart, which you can take either to up north to Killingly, or you can take it down to Warrington. So those are they're gonna be the only 2 transfer points on the proposed combined 2 routes that we're talking about today. So, you can come from Killingly and stop at Oregon and go to any services or whatever that you want to do in Plainfield. And you can also transfer in Oregon to go north to do any of the services or things that you would like to do in the northern loop. And then, of course, the Brooklyn Walmart, I know that that's a lot of, there's a lot of desire to go there. So that'll be in this normal issue of service. So that'll be really good. I know that we have an individual, and I dropped his name yesterday. Well, I didn't drop his name, but a situation that he works in Brooklyn, and he's been walking because he can't find the transportation through other transportation services in the area, and that's been a real challenge. He wrote us a really wonderful support letter, and I contacted him today and spoke with him, and we're gonna work on another letter of support for him to be able to advocate for the transit service. So, you know, again, those letters are really critical because I think, we have had DOT here. We've met with the commissioner, Kathy can attest to that. We took the person who had CT Transit, we took him with another official from DOT on a tour to show the neighborhood and show the stops and talk about some of that stuff. We also really talk about in our proposal, and we have in the past, is the demographic information, the challenges, some of the unemployment rates, and the needs to be able to get to employment centers for our residents in Plainfield. And just for context, I was also a former transit rider, so I like to tell people that. I grew up in Danielson, and we didn't have a car until it wasn't my car, but my sister bought a car, I think when I was 19. So we used to ride the transit bus all the time. And when we did a bus tour with Senator Murphy last November, my sister and I, when we were I think 9 and 11 collectively, we took the bus, the transit bus, the one that I currently work for, to the WRT. We went to the Eastbrook Mall, and we had never been to the mall before. And on the way, the bus had a flat tire, we had to stop. So, you know, having been an individual who didn't have access to a car as a young individual, it really stuck with me. So I just want you to I just wanted to reinforce my commitment to this service and our expanded service, because I think that sometimes gets lost on people, and Kathy can attest to that. When we went on the bus tour, a lot of our elected officials were surprised about the need and some of the stats that we threw out, and we need to make them aware of that. We need to, and as I said yesterday at the Moosit meeting, that we need to be advocates, and we need to be loud, and we need to talk about it, and we need to talk about how we need the service.
So how many of the representatives that took the bus tour have been approached about writing letters of support on both sides?
We have reached out to all of them. All of them have had the requests formally given to them. Yep. We have written out to all of our federal representatives and all of our state representatives to ask them, either in writing or in person.
Now, my other question is on the extension to the Brooklyn route in the southern Killingly, how is that being funded?
It's already it doesn't change the amount because Killingly and Brooklyn already paid for the service, so we're actually giving them more service for the money that they're currently paying. Yes.
The fare for Plainfield is $1 a
It will
ride?
be $1.
Now, the transfers, do you know the,
We don't charge for transfers.
No, do you-
Willimantic charges for transfers, but we don't charge for transfers.
so you could get the bus in Warrigan and go north for no additional charge?
That's the way that we operate right now.
What about seat, going south?
I don't know what the fees for I do know that they recently went up. I think it's around $3 each way. But I know that it went up, but I don't know what the number is off the top of my head, and I apologize for not bringing that. But that, and that's one of the challenges is that, some of those other transit districts are way more expensive. We have been $1 since 1998. And we've been in existence since 1978, and I'm sure that between 1978 and 1998, it was probably less than $1 then too. So, we really try to keep it affordable, and again, for context, we do about 50,000 rides a year, and we take about $21,000 in fares. So we're not in it to make money. We're in it to provide a service for people who need it. And that's always been our mission. It will continue to be our mission, and as long as I am here and all of our colleagues are here who are working on this, Delia and John and a few other people, it will continue to be our mission.
Now, what do you think one of the determining factors may be, or what can be done to help the DOT come back with a yes this time?
I think that the stuff that happened over the fall is helpful. We got some people's attention, which is really, which is good. I think that it wasn't because it wasn't a worthwhile endeavor. I think it was because of the fact that the state was in a budget crisis. And when the money filters, so I want to explain it because I think it's also a little important. The process itself is just not about the state DOT, it's about the Federal Transit Administration. So DOT in January, February makes the request to FTA. And they would have to add additional funds, again, out of their budget. The $200,000 or so project we're talking about isn't very big, but FTA, that money will, if they increase it, then they'll decide how to allocate those additional funds. But if they don't do that, then the DOT will have to decide where to take the money from. So it will either be another transit district or people in the office or whatever. So we have to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row, which again, we did the first time. All of the information was clear. We had tons of letters of support. It was just the budget crisis and that sort of thing. I mean, we put in our application for buses and we just got notification. So it does take a little bit of time. If the budget passes on time this year, that's also advantageous for us. We're going to continue to work with all of our partners up at the Capitol to make sure that that people are hearing us on the appropriate committees in order to advocate properly. And I'm sure that Kathy will do the same. And I can't speak for her, but I'm sure that we'll be having phone calls with people on finance and appropriations to make sure that people are hearing our needs.
Is the changing of the guard, you think, is going to affect any decisions from the state? Maybe with the new governor coming
I'm
in?
not really sure. We were involved in the transition with Governor Lamont. There have been conversations with him about the need for transportation in Plainfield. I think that he's attuned to that. I can't say that with any great certainty. I don't know when the commissioners are going to roll over either, and maybe it's probably going to be after the numbers come in from the DOT to the legislature to review. But I don't know if it'll have a really great impact, to be completely honest with you.
Businesses, can they sponsor advertisement on buses?
We do currently do, sometimes a lot of organizations give us money for airtime, like Wayne has their name on the bus and they let us run our ads for free.
Okay.
But we would certainly be interested in investigating that. I know that we're, another proposal.
Another revenue source.
Yeah, and another proposal that we're working on, is kind of related. We got a grant for veterans transportation. So we're gonna, once we are able to secure a vehicle to do that, we'll start running that too, and that'll be free to any veteran. So I hope that was helpful.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Any other questions or input?
I'd like to say I'm a lifelong resident of Plainfield, and there were all forms of public transportation in town. I'm going to date myself now, but we had what was known as a Bud car. It was BUDD was the manufacturer. It was a single powered passenger train. Stopped here in Plainfield, And basically on the idea of transfers, you could do that and
Yeah.
travel anywhere, wherever there's a train would go. And also Alex Cohen in Greenville section of Norwich had a depot there, and that was with a bus depot.
Yeah.
And there were buses all over, again, on transfers. And basically, wherever there was a landmass, like from the North Pole to the South Pole,
Yeah.
if there was service running there.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad you're reintroducing, and especially linking up with SEAT, because that would be a link
Yep.
to where, again, trains, Amtrak, buses.
Yeah.
And so it's, I think it's a good thing that you're considering. I hope it goes through.
What do you think
But-
the other thing really to consider is?
Yeah, there's a huge senior citizen population. I thought I heard a figure of 42 million or something like
Yeah.
senior. And there's, the need is there, and it's quite a, and where people can't, may not physically or medically be able to drive and
Yeah.
things. And so it's good to hopefully bring back public transportation.
Yeah, and all of our buses are ADA compliant. We have wheelchair lifts and all of the safety measures. We go through training with all of our drivers to make sure they're properly secured. So we do all of the things so anyone, and our bus has public transportation for everyone, and we really need that. In Killingly and all of the service areas, we have a flag down system, so if you're standing, if you're standing on, I don't know, Prospect Street or whatever, and you see the bus go by, you put your hand out and they have to stop and pick you up. So the stops are, again, they're fixed, but it's a deviated fixed route, so we have that 3/4 of a mile deviation, so you call 24 hours in advance, you ask to go somewhere else within the deviation, and we'll put you in and assign you a time, and we'll try to get you
Answer
there.
my question, because that, I just wanted to know if that was still staying.
Yeah, we're still gonna stay with the deviated fixed route, for now, so we're, again, it's gonna be the exact same as we have in all the other towns for service.
I'm on that road, so,
Yep,
I'm close to the Day Kimball, but not that close.
okay, yeah, yep. Yes,
I'm sorry I'm a little late, but I just want to check the tie-in for seed. Is that still going to be going forward in the future, or?
the tying of the seat is the goal. So
Okay.
we've already had a conversation with the Southeast Area Transit,
Right.
and the goal is for them to bring a bus up to the Big Y in Plainfield.
So is there an issue with that, the leadership from seed actually writing in a letter for support to the state?
We have reached out to SEAT. I'm not sure if we've asked them for a letter, but we can certainly investigate that, and I think that will be okay. Yeah.
The other question I have is now, the town Board of Finance already approved the money. Now, when, is that gonna change? Are we gonna have to go back in front of the Board of Finance for more funding for this, once, like, the DOT?
Not if the rate has not changed,
Okay,
no.
so that amount was for like a full year,
Yeah, and there's a formula, for the funding. So the town is responsible for 17% of the total. The state is responsible for 33%, and the federal government is responsible for 50%. So theoretically speaking, the federal government would have to provide an additional $100,000, give or take, to DOT to allocate to Plainfield for their service. So our rates have remained like mostly the same. Out of all the transit districts, we have the lowest overhead costs in the districts because it's managed through NECCOG. And we don't have a separate board of directors, we don't have a separate person doing the books, we have the same person, we get audited every year, both the bus service and NECCOG individually. Our cost to run our service is less than anyone else in the state by a mile, if not a little bit longer.
I listened to WINY talk show, and when Kathy was, are you Kathy, by the way?
Yes.
Hi,
How are you?
Kathy, I'm Stephen Keith from Plainfield.
Hi, Stephen. Nice to meet you.
Hendricks with an H?
T, Tendridge.
Oh, with a K or C?
T.
C, oh, okay, okay. Oh, glad to meet you. And
Nice to
welcome to Plainfield.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and what the heck was I saying?
That you were listening to Winnie.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I, yourself as well as the finance director and things, and discussing it, and saying, and I following that and seeing where the federal government, and of course Lisa was nice earlier, I was talking about, not a problem with the federal or the town of Plainfield, but it's something like waiting for the state to come through, because it was, the talk was to start it up for November 1st, and NECCOG, Northeast Connecticut Transit. And I heard discussion of a survey, and which a survey was done 2 years ago, and then possibly considering for the new fiscal year, which would be July for 2019. And
that is not set in stone. When we met with DOT, the commissioner said he really didn't want us to use a date. January was thrown out there, but again, it doesn't mean it's gonna happen in January. He said it may not happen until the new budget. So it may not happen until next budget season.
so there's actually a kind of a delay in the funding from the state, not the
Well,
federal, not the town?
If I'm allowed to interject, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So like the state passes a biannual budget, so it's every 2 years.
Ah.
So that is, where that comes in. You have to make those requests annually, and they get voted on in 2 years in a row. So this next coming year will be the next biannual budget. So that's really where the stuff got a little muddled, is, you have to put it in when you're supposed to, and if you can't, it's hard to make the request after, because all of those funds that come from FTA to DOT have already been allocated. They've already been given to the people who made the request on time. And it wasn't, again, we put the request on time at the beginning, but because of the fact that it wasn't deemed, they didn't pick it. It wasn't because it wasn't a good idea, it was just the decisions at DOT. So, it's just kind of how the process works, like it depends on, what they decide to fund and all of that sort of stuff, so.
Yeah, there was even taxi service in Plainfield. So there were all forms of public
Yeah.
transportation, and
Yeah, so,
people utilized it.
And we're trying to bring it back, and, we're gonna write the application, and again, the letter of supports are really appreciated, and we'll put them all together and send them over to DOT and continue to advocate in all the avenues that we have available to us.
What is the deadline for the surveys and the letters?
The deadline is next Friday to turn them in. We are probably not gonna be writing it until after the holiday, so a couple of stragglers won't be a big deal. As I said, the real issue is getting enough surveys in. So last time we submitted, I think we got 205 surveys. So if we could exceed that, I think that would be really beneficial.
My other question with this is, where are the community colleges in support of this? And has our high school got on board with this with our seniors? Because we have a lot of low-income families. Their children can't afford transportation to go to like a community college once they graduate high school.
We have been in conversations with QV, and Three Rivers isn't within our service area, but we can certainly talk with CEDA
But maybe
about that.
they could be persuasive to see,
Yeah.
to encourage.
Yeah, we could certainly reach out to them, and we
Right,
have
to
had
get those
conversations.
letters and-
We have conversations with QV all the time about students from Plainfield, but also students from Willimantic, so we definitely have those ongoing conversations.
Maybe they could put awareness to the students to write letters in support of transportation.
Yeah.
I think is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and the
To
more
get more
education-
letters.
And if we can reach out to the superintendent of schools and have a conversation about that, certainly.
Because they're being put at a disadvantage. I mean, north of here, they got the advantage, south of here, they have the advantage, Plainfield's left out.
Yeah.
The underprivileged are being left out.
Yeah, and I obviously understand that, and we have been working really diligently to provide all of the information to compel DOT to act.
Like I have a prime example. My daughter goes to college in Maine, but she went to school with another young lady who lived in Mohegan with
Yeah.
her grandmother. She would have preferred to have gone to a community college to stay,
Yeah.
to help with her grandmother. They didn't have a vehicle. She had to go out of
Yeah.
state in order to be able to stay on campus to get an education. That's not acceptable.
Yeah.
So when our children have to make sacrifices at 18 and 19, and then it devastates the family economically even more, it's a big problem.
Yeah.
So I hope when the commissioner and the state makes their decision, they're factoring that in.
Well, and I mean, if people want to write a letter to talk about the challenges, as I said,
Absolutely.
please encourage other people to write letters. If they're not here tonight and you talk to them about it tomorrow or the next day, encourage them to write a letter. They can send them to me via email, they can mail them to our office, I can come pick them up. We're trying to be as, open and as available as possible, to make sure that the surveys are getting out and that people know, and that we are doing as much as we can to engage the community, to have them put input in, we're trying to do our best, and I hope that you truly believe that, because we have been working really hard. Through the first application, we asked DOT, and every time we sit down with someone from DOT, we talk about it. And we ask about more buses, we ask about Plainfield, we ask these things, we have these conversations, we have all these conversations with every stakeholder who will give us their ear or will take their ear, depending upon which stakeholder you're talking to, but you know what I mean? So we're really trying really hard to bring it back. And again, the 2015 application had nothing to do with the merits of the application. Nothing to do with the merits of the application.
When you went to the Heather Killingly meeting, was there a bunch of people there in support of opening up an?
We've had attendance at all of our 4 public hearings. We brought all of the information because I figured we might as well talk about the big picture and then kind of narrow down based on the audience about what their issues were and what their challenges were. We've had attendance at all of the public hearings.
And was there the interest to join in with Plainfield?
There is interest for people to go to Plainfield. A person who came to the Killingly meeting, their parents live in Oregon, and they live in Danielson, and they're in a program, and they would be interested in being able to get here, like to come for the weekend and be able to get back, because they cannot drive. So, you know, we're getting everyone to write a letter and support and fill out a survey, and the more information that we have and the more powerful the voices are, the better the opportunity is for us to be able to push this through.
Now, I know you said there are the post offices, the surveys, and I know you list.
Oh yeah, there's a whole list.
Were a stack of them also dropped off at the office at Moosup Gardens? Because I know that the people there, that was a big issue for them a couple of years ago, is the transportation. And
I'd
they
have
have an office right there, so.
Okay, I'd have to check, but if they're not, I can drop them off.
That'd be
Yep,
great.
yep.
Because I know you did, the churches there.
Yep.
And you did,
I did UCFS, I did the walk-in, I did the senior center, I did the town hall. I didn't bring my list with me. I'm trying to do this from memory. The Oregon Post Office, the Central Village Post Office, the Coins and Suds Laundromat in Central Village, the town hall, the Aldrich Public Library, and maybe one other place. So that's where they all are right now. And they're at All Hallows, and tomorrow they'll be United Methodist.
What about Bacchus and Dick Kimball and then?
Bacchus and Dave Kimball receive them electronically. Yep. So UCFS has been just sending them back via email. They've just been scanning them in and sending them back.
Have you received letters of support from UCFS?
The director of UCFS is writing us a letter, yes. Yep.
I just wanted to check because I have to go there.
Oh, yeah, we reached out to every group that we knew of. So if you think of anyone else that we may have missed, we're always open for suggestions and,
I
yep.
know they're in support of it because of the fact that, of course, I'm one of the patients there. And
Yeah.
just a couple weeks ago, prime example of, having a hard time. I had a ride there, but I didn't have a ride back. So
Yeah.
basically that cost me $15. And
Yeah.
I understand that, taxi companies need to make more money than, but unfortunately, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
If I was working, that might be a little different story if I needed to use it on occasion, but, it would be a lot better for me to have that bus. I
Yeah,
need that.
the alternative transportation options, unfortunately, are not, they're expensive.
Yeah.
Just for lack of a better.
$15 for 3
Yeah,
hours.
and the funding for the group that supplements some of that, they've also lost funding ECTC, the Eastern Connecticut Transportation Consortium. I know all my acronyms, so I'm feeling like
Yes.
So I think that those are the other, that's another, we have a letter of support from ECTC, as we did in the last proposal. So, and we work with ECTC closely on some other challenges for towns that currently don't have any service at all, minus the senior disabled service. So we work really closely with ECTC in terms of trying to get people to where they need to go. So, yes.
Did you reach out to United Services for?
We did, yep, we've already spoken with them, the surveys are at the Dayville office, and they're also at the office in Oregon. That was the other location, thank you so much for your help. That was the other location that we dropped it off at, so, yeah, we dropped it off at the Oregon office, and that will, will be able to access that service in Oregon, through our bus service when they're coming from the Danielson Big Y.
A lot of time NECCOG doesn't have availability, so in case they need it, this
Yep.
would be great.
Yep, yeah, and once all of this stuff gets out, we'll continue to do outreach and tell people it's coming and what the costs are and let them know. We do that in our current service area. We go to places where people we think would use the bus would be, and we talk to them about the bus service, and we do a lot of outreach, and we try to notify people about what we have to offer and what a deal it is. So,
Yeah, I mean, medical cab.
yeah,
I've been left for hours on end,
Yeah.
and finally had to call my best friend to get a ride home.
yeah.
Because
And unfortunately, it's really that, we've really talked about that, one internally with our organization, but also with DOT, about what's the monitoring of these other transportation services. I don't think they're as monitored as closely as we are. We have to adhere to Connecticut guidelines and Federal Transit Administration guidelines. So we do have those conversations when those come up, and you actually can call the DOT if you have an issue to file a complaint.
I had my dog, my guide dog with me today,
Yeah.
in the taxi, which that was not a problem, but I know a lot of people have said, go ahead and take Uber. Well, I'm afraid to, because
Yeah.
there's been many people who drive for Uber, and maybe they're not here, but, all over the country, I'm hearing really bad stories about how they see you have a guide dog and they will drive right by you, and
Yeah.
you are duped. And
We can't do that, it's
No,
illegal.
no.
So,
They have been.
yeah, if there is an issue, there is a way to report that through DOT. And if you would like to have that information, I can certainly give it to you. They have a complaint form online that you can fill out. So,
I'd just rather not be stuck to begin with, and I know.
yeah, well, and again, the demand and the supply unfortunately do not match up. And that is a problem not only in Northeastern Connecticut, but all over the country and all over the state, because we're not providing adequate, affordable public transportation for people who are in, who need the transportation. So we're trying to fill this
I
little gap.
think we need an overhaul. I found it absolutely appalling that Commissioner Rediker stated that they cannot, routes that are already in place that have low ridership cannot be removed, and that money that was allocated to them be redistributed somewhere else where there is that demand. That's ludicrous. We're throwing money on wasted routes when we have people who need that service.
Yeah.
I found that appalling. We need better laws. That's not acceptable. So you have empty buses riding because they know there's low ridership, but we already funneled that money into it, so we can't pull it because that might remove that one person that gets on it. But another road, there could be 50 in, but you don't have it
Yeah.
yet, so.
Yeah, I can't speak to the process.
Yeah, that's just
But I
terrible.
know that at least they review it when it comes to decide how the funding's gonna be spent. So hopefully that will be something that
Right,
will.
but Chris Murphy can address it, and
And we-
Blumenthal can address it, and there's a lot of people up in Hartford that can address it. And are they aware of these laws that are ridiculous for wasting our money? That's my question.
Well, and I think that's a conversation that you can certainly have with them. I think that that's productive. I think that people, I think that all of our representatives are interested in making sure the dollars are spent effectively and efficiently. I can't speak to the process at DOT, minus the fact that all of these things that we need to give them. I can't really speak to how their decision-making processes go or how they evaluate routes. But
Well, I think their hands are limited if that's what the laws, if that's the legal system. I
Yeah.
mean, we just need to change those laws so that it helps them out too. I'm not gonna, I think Rediker seems very willing and supportive of
Yeah. Yep.
of the program as well, so. Now, where will the stops be in Moosa?
The stops in Moosa are, let's see, Moosa Gardens, Cumberland Farms, Walgreens, All Hallows, Aldrich Public Library, and Sunny Acres. Yep, no problem. There's another map that I have, but it's not it has the wrong connection, so I didn't want to display it, and I also didn't have a board to put it on, so I apologize for that. But if anyone wants to come up when the meeting's over and take a look, you're more than welcome to do so.
On the number 10 with the Rite Aid or the Walgreens,
Yeah.
All Hallows, and the United Methodist, is that
Yeah.
one stop or 3 different stops?
They're just listed together because they're so close together. So we can stop at all of them if someone wants to get off at any of those
Okay.
3 stops.
Okay.
Yep. So the challenge is the one way on that weird turnaround, so, yeah. We just kind of lumped them together because it was just a little bit, especially if they were really close together, because people will be going to United Methodist. We were thinking like All Hallows on Thursdays, because that's when they do luncheons, and then United Methodist on Fridays. That was the goal of that, and we had an extensive conversation with Northeast Community Kitchens about those steps and what days they were. So are there any other questions?
It sounds, it would also be good for social services too, which you mentioned,
Yeah.
United Services and the community kitchens and,
Yeah.
for people.
Yeah, we, as I said, we tried to be really targeted with our stops, as we do on all of our routes, to make sure that we're getting close to places where people would need to go. That's something that we're really cognizant about. I work with a lot of the human services, social services organizations in a different hat, on a different part of my job. So we have conversations about this stuff all the time to make sure that people have access where those services are. So if there are any other questions, I want to thank you all for coming. If you think of anything, write a letter, write a letter, write a letter. That's my sales pitch for today.
Oh, I'm gonna go and get mine started tonight.
Yeah, and just, you can email them, mail them, I don't know.
No,
Send me a, what was it?
Screenshot?
Telegram.
Telegram, yeah, I was like, SOS, stop, Hoween Flexer, stop, but, yeah. Or a smoke signal won't work, because I can't transfer that to anyone else. But I want to thank you all for coming, and if you want to come up and
I
take a
had
little bit.
one question on
Oh,
the
yeah, sure.
deviation area, or in the purple.
The deviation area, it's 3/4 of a mile.
Okay, from what do you call it?
A stop.
Well, I hear a pit stop, is that one of the, I hear the term pit stop on the radio.
Oh, I don't know, but it's a deviation. That's what we call it.
Okay, deviation.
So those
yeah.
are typically asked for 24 hours in advance. So we can put you into the schedule for our drivers, because we give them to them every morning or afternoon, depending upon when they leave
Okay.
they leave the base.
Yeah, like a dial-a-ride, or is it?
No, it's not. We just want to know so we can make sure we build you in to the regular route. So, the driver knows that they need a little bit of leeway between one step and the next step. Well, thank you all for coming. Have a wonderful holiday
too.
and a happy new year, and hopefully 2009 will bring some good things for the town of Plainfield.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, absolutely no problem.